All right. The next K, I will send it to you. And I can give it to you afterwards, too. Okay, so how'd we do?
I'm a -3.
-3. I got to go back and look at mine now that I've gone away from it. -3 in your...
Well, it's pretty crappy.
Okay. Yeah. You're still in the orange, right?
A little bit. I'm at more.
Well, that's good. If you're moving toward the blue, you want to stay out of the orange. Do we have blues in here? Do we have moving toward oranges?
Does that arrow move, or is that just part of the picture? Because it looks like...
Let me see. Okay, you're over here, -7. That means you are eating inflammatory foods. Yes, Joe.
I have 10.
You have 10?
I'm right there.
You're doing a good job. You want to be in the blue. Okay, so this is something to get us started, to get us looking, and we'll talk more about this afterwards. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Clift's wife, Diane, and I'm just going to kind of go over a couple things. So obviously you guys saw our sign, and that probably brought you here because you're probably dealing with some of these issues. Joint swelling, who's dealing with joint swelling? Okay, do you really feel it when you get up in the morning? Is this the most common time? All right, how about fatigue or not sleeping well? All right, depression, anxiety, mood issues, okay, GI issues, you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, weight gain, weight loss, frequent infections, body pain. These are all things that we don't think about, but inflammation actually can be a good thing. Dr. Clift's going to delve into that big time, but inflammation can be a good thing. When you have an injury, you're going to get inflammation. If you bonk your elbow on a corner, it's going to swell up, and that's a good thing. All the blood's rushing there to heal it. But what we're talking about tonight is more of chronic inflammation, and that's not a good thing. All right, so he's really going to delve into what it is and how we can overcome it. And one of the great things I love about chiropractic and what we talk about in this office are there are lots of things out there when we deal with health that are actually really scary. Like you hear things or you think things, and I don't know about you, but if I wasn't married to a chiropractor, I'd be a total hypochondriac. Honey, this is, So, but when you deal with the body on this level and you just look at it the way God created it, and you deal with it in that way in natural processes, it's not as scary. So he's really going to help us see there are really good ways that we can overcome our inflammation. But it's extremely important that we do that so it doesn't turn into a major chronic inflammation which causes disease. So I also want to kind of do a little plug for our talk next month, which will be July 31st. We'll have it up on the board. And I'm going to share with you a lot of research I've been doing on perimenopause. So sorry, men, but some of that does kind of affect you too. But something that I did not realize is when we think about perimenopause, sometimes we get to a certain age and we're like, it doesn't affect me. But peri means around. So it's all around. It's pre and it's post, and inflammation is directly tied to that as well, because as estrogen levels lower, then inflammation increases because estrogen kind of keeps inflammation at bay. So we're going to cover a lot of that. We're going to cover a lot of different issues, some of which I just want to read through because these things are often dismissed as just something that has nothing to do with those levels. So dry and itchy skin, palpitations, panic attacks, dizziness, dry mouth, rage, brain fog, belly fat, blood pressure, cholesterol both going high, insomnia, dry eyes, weight gain, headaches. Those are all things that are directly tied or can be directly tied with perimenopause. So we're going to talk about that. I'm also going to go through and give some helpful talks on a diet I'm researching, which I'm not a proponent of diets. I like to just eat God's food the way He calls us to. But this will just kind of give us some direction to kind of hone in. So if this is something that's interesting to you, or you know other women that are going through and having symptoms or just dealing with struggles like that, please tell them to come, because I've been super encouraged as I've been doing research about it. And so I'd really like to share that with others as well. So, I'm sorry? Yes, July 31st, which is a Wednesday, so the last Wednesday of July at 6:30. And it will be up on our board over there as well. Okay? So with that, now Dr. Clift will come and he will tell you the bulk of the information for inflammation.
Thank you.
You're welcome, hon.
Now, again, Diane did a great job of talking about inflammation. And again, inflammation is a natural process that we have so many things like Diane was talking about. It's a natural thing that happens when you injure yourself. And this is something that's actually new in the medical community, that the gold standard for dealing with inflammation, like acute inflammation, was ice, right? Oh, I hurt my knee, you put ice on it. And you ice it 20 minutes on, 40 minutes off, as many times as you can. We've done that for 40 years. The new research is showing that's the worst thing you can do. And I know, exactly, like, wait a minute, what's going on? Now, but what it does, that ice makes it feel better because it takes the inflammation down. You're like, great, inflammation's down. Oh, that's awesome. Then it feels better. But there's a reason for that acute inflammation. What inflammation is, like I said, you hit your elbow. That inflammation is the body, and this is God's innate intelligence, is sending all, like the fire department of your body, there to repair and to help heal the injury and the repair and put it back together. So if you've got a house that's burning down and the fire department's coming, EMS, everybody's coming, and you're like, whoa, whoa, those are too many vehicles on the road. We're gonna stop all those vehicles. You can't, we'll have one, but we don't want all those there. Then what's gonna happen? Well, the house is gonna burn down, or it's gonna take them a long time to actually take care of the fire. Well, that's what we're doing with ice. We're slowing that huge mass of all these helper cells that are going to actually heal the body, and we're slowing it down. Now, they did this huge research study where they found that and they did it with an ankle. Actually, a friend of mine who's an ER doctor was the one who found this in Europe, is where they first spearheaded this, that they said, wait a minute, if this is a natural thing the body's doing, what if we just help even increase it? Just like, hey, let's start calling other counties and bringing other fire trucks in here. Let's see if we can get this even better. So they started putting heat on an injury, which was just insane. It's like, what are you thinking? We don't want to put heat on it. They started doing that. The injury healed 4 times faster. Then ice actually slowed down the healing. So when they started putting heat on it, it was amazing because now we're enhancing the body's ability to heal, and it swelled a little bit more and it didn't feel good. And that's just like, oh no. But then in a day, boom, swelling went down and everything was back. The injured athletes got back on the field so much faster. So we're starting to rethink things. Now, that's where inflammation is a good thing. It's all the healing power we want to get to this injured joint. But now what happens is we get into the flip side of that, is what Diane was talking about, chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is different, and chronic inflammation is where, yes, you might have an injury, but now the body isn't healing right away. The inflammation is staying there and it's not healing. It's staying inflamed and the body isn't healing like it's supposed to. And some of the things we see this with how the body heals when you're younger, 20 years old, you go out and you're doing some crazy sports and you can get up the next day and do it again. And it's like, oh yeah, and it doesn't bother you. You add another 20 years and it's like, now I'm 40 trying to do that. I'm like, wow, the next day I'm not ready to do it again. And it's because the body doesn't heal as quickly and those nutrients getting to the joints don't heal as quickly, so your healing capacity slows down. Now there's some factors that slow that down and some things we can do to speed that youthful healing process up. So if you're interested in hearing about that, anybody want to hear how to speed up that youthful healing? Yeah, okay, good. I was excited about it too. I'm like, yes, this is the stuff I want to hear. Now, some of the things that we need to know is, okay, what causes chronic inflammation? Now, some of the things that cause chronic inflammation to stay up, what things do we need to avoid? Well, let me see, there's 3 different types of stress. Actually, I'll throw a 4th one in. There's chemical stress, kind of like the things that we eat or exposed to. We've got to watch out for. There's physical stress. There's emotional stress, the things we're dealing with in our mind. And then there's neurological stress. Now, with the things we need to avoid that causes this chronic inflammation, Now let's see if you guys have paid attention over the years. What do you think's the number one cause nutritionally of inflammation in our body? Chronic inflammation. Oh, I know, we got some guesses. Throw. Amen. We've put sugar is like the biggest thing. You're absolutely right. And so we know that, but we eat it anyway. It's like, really, is it that bad? It is. That there's one of the researchers that there's tons of medical research out about the cause of inflammation, especially sugar. Sugar, they equate sugar to like cocaine, that how it affects our body, why we keep eating it even though it's causing this inflammation. And you eat that cake and you're like, I just don't feel good after it. It tastes great when I was eating it, but it's just like the other white powder that people are using. They get a high, but man, it's a hard crash. That's the same thing in our body because sugar is natural. God put it in like an apple. So the fructose in the apple is great. That sugar is awesome. It tastes good. But you know, God balanced it out with a lot of fiber, and with vitamins, vitamin C, nutrients to help your body actually metabolize that sugar so it balances it out. But what we've done, it's like, wow, we really like that sugar. We're going to throw out the fiber, we're going to throw out the vitamins, and we're just going to make this concentrated stuff. They call it apple juice. That's all that fructose from those apples. And it's like, oh, we can add it to all sorts of stuff. And it's natural. Wow, it causes a huge amount of inflammation in our bodies. And that's one of the things we have to really watch out for, even though tastes good, it gives us a high, but then the crash is hard. And what we usually feel is as we're hitting it over and over again, and all the stuff, if you look at a lot of food we eat, my goodness, even French fries have sugar in it because they know it gives us that kick that, you know, McDonald's knows it. That's why they put them. Like, who put sugar? Yep, they do it. And you look at all sorts of crazy stuff. There's sugar in almost everything. So that's one of the top things we've got to watch out for. But I'm going to give you some things we can do to counteract that. But that's one of the big ones is sugar is number one. Now, there's another one. Sugar is the easy one to think about, but there's also something that's like one step away from sugar. And that's, anybody know? We've talked about this a lot. What is a simple step from eating this and it turns into sugar almost right away? Simple carbs. And what's an example of a simple carb? Bread, yes. Now, there's actually two different types of bread. We had a class last month about using actually the whole grain, where you take grain and grind it and mill it yourself. Totally different. That just like the apple, it's a difference like your white bread off the grocery store shelf and grinding your own wheat and making bread is basically the difference of eating an apple or drinking apple juice. You know, they're both apple-like, but they affect your body totally different. The apple juice spikes your blood sugar, and the home ground grain, making it into bread, because it has the fiber, it has the vitamins, has the nutrients, it helps your body metabolize it, and it's actually good for you. And especially, Diane's got a recipe for Ezekiel bread. Oh my gosh, that's what ladies over here had that this morning at our house. Amazing that it's actually a complete protein. We can talk about that later, but man, it is good stuff. So it's not that you can't eat bread, it's just like, oh, I can't have apples. No, you can, just don't drink apple juice. You just go for what God made. And that's the whole basis. The closer you get to how God made it, the healthier it is for you, and the more processed it is, the more it causes this chronic inflammation and causes your body to just not know what to do with it, and we really health-wise crash. Now, some of the other things you got to watch out for is the thing that causes inflammation is omega-6 fatty acids. Now, all this stuff, I thought fatty acids were good. Omega-3 fatty acids are really good. That's fish oil. Heard that? Oh yeah, fish oil is good. Omega-6, what's that? That's fried foods. So you've got this corn oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, that all those are omega-6s. Man, those cause inflammation in your body. Now, it's looking at, again, how we've processed so many things. That fish oil, we know that's okay eating fish. I was like, gosh, I can't eat fish all the time. Is there anything else? Well, there's beef, but the beef we typically eat is omega-6, and the only reason is because they're feeding the cows grain. Now, does anybody see a cow out in the field? Do they eat corn out in the field? You know, these cow, what do they eat? Grass, yes. They're not eating corn. They eat grass, and the grass actually causes the meat in the cow to produce omega-3 fatty acids, just like fish. And that's where the meat of a grass-fed cow, a cow that eats what God made it to eat, is healthy, and it actually doesn't cause inflammation. Now, me personally, I can totally tell the difference between a burger that's grass-fed and one that's not grass-fed, because it affects me. It tears up my stomach eating a non-grass-fed cow, and my wife was just like, oh yeah, you just can't eat red meat. That's just, I'm like, and as soon as we found this years ago, eating grass-fed doesn't affect me. I feel great afterwards. And she's like, wow, really? And that's where it's that omega-3, what we're made to eat. It doesn't cause inflammation. So that's where if you, well, man, I love eating my burgers, switch over to grass-fed. Now, some of the times, like money-wise, like, wow, that grass-fed is expensive in the store, that you can find what they call hobby farmers, that people that just like, you know what, I just am going to have a cow grazing out my field and I'm going to sell it. And you can actually get over at the farmer's market, they have these guys that will sell quarter cow, half cow, throw it in your freezer, and it's amazing. We've got that at home. We've done that for many years. Now, it's interesting the difference with those cows, that a grass-fed cow gets up to slaughter weight in less than a year. That's the corn-fed cow. The grass-fed cow takes 2 years, that it takes 2 seasons for them to get enough weight to be ready to sell. So with that, they're getting fat fast, and what does that do to us when we're eating this fat, fast cow? It makes us fat. So that's where you got this lean cow that takes 2 years and it has healthy meat on it. Well, we are what we eat. So, you know, that's where it's like, what can we do? That's some things you can flip over to stop the inflammation. So that's one of the things we got to watch out for. And the other things, it's a weird one that I saw this in some of the research and didn't think about this before, but barbecue and some of the like, oh, I like my fish blackened, that when you start heating foods at super high temperatures, it flips the oil and it makes it into the omega-6s and 9s, and it really is more toxic. So even though it might taste good, boy, it's causing inflammation in your body. So we've really got to watch those and cooking things at normal temperatures. Now, the other stuff, we're talking about physical stress, where we injure ourselves. That's some of the trauma that we call them weekend warriors. It's like, all right, I'm going to sit at a computer all week long, and then I'm going to get my exercise in, and I'm going to do pickleball all weekend. It's like, oh, okay. And that is that stress and inflammation from you being overactive and not really working yourself regularly. If you work out regularly, your body can handle it. If you go many days in between and try to hit it hard all at once, you're going to cause a lot of inflammation. And that's where we know it when we're trimming stuff. It's like, oh, I gotta get that tree trimmed. I'm just gonna attack that thing, and then you're afterwards, you're like, ooh, man, okay, that's yeah, I'm speaking from experience. So but that's one of the things that cause that inflammation. Now, the other thing that we don't think about, inflammation can also be caused by emotional stress. Now, there's some really interesting research articles now where they're finding that depression causes inflammation in our tissues. That depression, they actually have this new group of scientists they call psychoneuroimmunologists, that they're seeing that immune system response, that inflammation, that psychoneuro, so they're looking at your psychology, your brain, how that can affect the inflammation process. And they've done some pretty amazing studies where they've tied these in, and they call them inflammatory cytokines, that are released when you're under emotional stress. And it releases it in your body and attacks your joints and causes this inflammation. That's where a lot of times after, like, even you have an emotional event like a funeral, all you're doing is sitting around, everybody's talking at the funeral, and man, you are sore and stiff. It's like, I didn't do anything. All we did was sit around. But that emotional stress really caused these cytokines to hit your body, and you're just achy and sore and exhausted. Now, same thing when you have repeated stress. There's a lot of people's jobs that are just super stressful. You've got emotional stuff with your kids, family members, where it's just causing this sustained emotional stress. Boy, that causes havoc in your joints. And what's happening, your brain has this effect. It's called the reaction is a fight or flight. Your body does it naturally, but think about it, it's more for protection. That, let's say, a bear comes running through this door, everybody's like, oh my goodness, what happens? Your brain kicks into gear, you start, your heart, your blood pressure goes up, and you're ready to jump out of your chairs and run for the door. And the inflammation starts going to your joints, and what that's doing, your cholesterol goes up as well. Cholesterol is actually the sticky substance that gets in your bloodstream that helps to clog holes. So if you're running into stuff trying to get out the door and you're scratching yourself so you don't bleed to death, that cholesterol is there to plug the holes so you can not bleed to death and get to safety. That's there for temporary. Just like the swelling in your elbow, if you bang it into and it's just temporary, same thing, that's supposed to be just temporary. But there's a lot of times that we've got stressful situations with family, and the bear is living in our house and it's chasing us around all day long, and we're under this stress, and blood pressure goes up, our cholesterol is high, our heart palpitation. We go to your medical doctor, like, oh, we got to put you on blood pressure medication, we got to put you on cholesterol medication. It's like, man, my bowels are just, and same thing, you're being chased by a bear, your brain naturally is like, forget about using the restroom, you've got to get going. So your body starts, you have this constipation, like, I don't get it. It's because there's a bear in your house. And that's where we don't need all the drugs. We need to calm our body down and get out of that fight or flight and figure out how to get rid of the bear. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So that's where we've got a lot of research about that. And the last thing is this neurological stress. And that's where we have the stress on our nervous system. Now, let's go back to what are some of the things we can do to help that stress. We've got food. Some of the stuff we can't avoid. It's like, all right, I can't take every single bit of sugar out of my diet. You know, I'd be chasing stuff around all the time. I wouldn't be able to eat anything. So there's some things you can do to counteract that. And there's some awesome things you can do to add to your diet just to help fight some of this inflammation that's going on. And some of the things that bringing in the natural fire department is, let's see if you guys think, can you think of a food that's really great in anti-inflammatory factors? See if you guys can think. Avocado, great. And that's part of the omega-3 fatty acids, that it's the olive oil, avocado oil is awesome. So adding those healthy oils is fantastic. Good job. Now there's some things on the fruit side that are one of the berries. What kind of berries are the top ones? There you go, blueberries. Yes, I like strawberries better than blueberries, and that's what I usually do in my smoothie in the morning.
We left the doctor's office today with my mom. It was saying strawberries. Just
It's
cardiology, but she eats strawberries.
and I get it. Now, the research I have from this research study, they put blueberries above strawberries. I wish there was strawberries in my research, so I'll look harder to try to find strawberries because that's a whole lot easier because in my smoothie I do, because this is some of the things you can add. So blueberries is one of the big things, and then also we've got green tea. Even they're showing now that eggs, that the choline in eggs helps to take down inflammation. So eating 2 to 3 eggs in the morning is one of the things you can start off to take down inflammation. So the blueberries, extras, things you can add to really drop that down to get your body fighting and keep the inflammation down. It's really awesome. Now, one of the things I found to help with that, and I'll just run through one of the other things, dark green leafy vegetables. I was like, oh yeah, how do I get that? You know, it's like, do I have to eat salads all day long? Well, there's something I've done that helps, and I do this every morning, that I do a smoothie every morning. And my smoothie, I put in strawberries, I added blueberries. Only reason, blueberries are good, but man, they get in my teeth that every morning. Oh, my wife is like, you had blueberries in your smoothie. I'm like, what? And she's like, they are all in your teeth. So yeah, they not only stick in your body and are healthy, they stick in your teeth too. So that's one of the things. Strawberries, I'll look into that. We could do strawberries. Now, I like frozen. So frozen strawberries, doing that in a smoothie. Now, I've got a little blender. I don't know if you've seen these blenders. They're actually, the blender cup is what you use. The Ninja is one of them that you can pick up at Walmart, Sam's Club, that you can do it. I love it. You can put all your stuff in there, put the blender cap on, and you can drink it right out of the cup. You don't have to pour it out. It's the easiest thing. I like finding stuff that's easy, and that's what I'm about. So throw that in. Now, one of the things, I'm a sweet guy, and it's like, okay, if we can't have sugar, what can we do? And this is where I found these things. I love these things. This is a natural energy, because one of the things that you can also do that helps take down inflammation is green tea. Now, green tea, this is the coolest thing. The energy in this is green tea. So you've got green tea in here, but also it's flavored with stevia. And stevia is an herb that's sweet, but it doesn't affect your blood sugar, doesn't cause inflammation like sugar does. So that's where, and you have all different flavors here, but that's where this is thing. It has green tea, caffeine, so it gives you a little boost, but it has that anti-inflammatory property. The stevia doesn't throw your blood sugar, but it tastes sweet. I love these things. So I actually do this in big old thing. You can put it in 16 ounces. This thing's 32. So I'll do 1 packet in this, and I'll use that as the liquid in my smoothie. Now, I'll take this. One of the other things is fiber helps to take down inflammation. That's one of the things. Think of what's in an apple that helps bounce out the sugar is fiber. I'll take hemp seed as a good fiber. That all the stuff they have at Walmart. You can get a bag of hemp seed. That's good fiber. I'll take a scoop of that, throw it in with those strawberries or blueberries that are frozen along with that. And then you can also, to add some of the dark green leafy vegetables, kale is awesome. It's an amazing dark green leafy vegetable, takes down inflammation, but you can get it frozen. Again, you can get that at Walmart. And frozen, fresh is best, frozen is second best, and then cooking it kills all the nutrients out of it. So don't boil it, and that's just, you boil all the nutrients right out of it. So, but if you keep it frozen, you throw that into your smoothie, man, you have like hit 5 different things of anti-inflammatory in one meal, and it fills you up. It's the coolest thing. My wife used to make fun of me, and now she's looking at all this, she's like, that's really good, isn't it? I'm like, it tastes good. I'm all about flavor, but man, if I'm hitting all this stuff, when I did my little survey like you guys did, I was like, wow, mine's not that good. I'm like, man, mine's great. And she was like, how? And she's like, oh, that's all the stuff you drink in the morning. I'm like, yep, that's what I do every morning. So, and it's helped so much. So if you can add those, some of the things that the last thing on this from nutrition-wise, tart cherry juice is really good anti-inflammatory. I'm just not a big tart guy, so that's where like blueberries, especially Michigan blueberries, praise the Lord for Michigan blueberries. Those things are sweet. Stuff I grew up in Ohio, those little tiny tart blueberries, ugh, I just couldn't stand those things. So Michigan blueberries are awesome. That's a gift from heaven. Now, with those are things you can add. And then the last thing, omega-3 fatty acids of fish oil, that adding fish oil, there's several different ways you can add fish oil. That we've got fish oil capsules that you can do where you can take, or I use it's a Norwegian cod liver oil that you can use. Man, that is awesome. Super high in omega-3 fatty acids. Enormous in anti-inflammatory properties. Great for joints. I mean, if you've got arthritis, boy, that is phenomenal to take down inflammation. So you start throwing that stuff in there and you hit all that, and just in a smoothie in the morning, holy mackerel, you've just done a huge anti-inflammatory boost. Yes, ma'am.
Are there other sources of omega-3s that is not fish related? Because I have fish allergy. So.
Yes, so omega-3s, you can also get that in flaxseed. So and flaxseed, I used to throw that into my smoothie in the morning. It has a slight bitter taste to it. I kind of got turned off by it. So that's why I switched over to the Norwegian cod liver oil. But you can throw flaxseed in. Great omega-3s without the fish. So just be wary, it's going to have a little tang to it. So just know where that's coming from.
What's the best green tea?
The best green tea? It's interesting, green tea, you can get that almost anywhere. One of the better one is, oh gosh, my wife does all the, not Lipton actually, it's Herbal Essentials. If you can grab Diane and ask her, she'll know right off the top of her head. We've got like 50 teas and green. Oh my gosh, she's amazing at that. That's where she's the one that does the shopping. I just get to peruse all the stuff that we already have. She's awesome at that. Now, so those are some of the foods you can add that are awesome. Now, the other things you can do, if it's like, man, I don't want to fix a smoothie in the morning, I don't have time for that, it takes me 15 minutes, and that's my breakfast, and man, it's awesome. I do that every morning. But if you don't want to do that, that's where you can get the tuna omega fish oil. That helps, again, takes the inflammation down. Now, there's another thing, it's super powerful, is turmeric. Turmeric is strong. Holy mackerel. This has so much research behind it as an anti-inflammatory. I've switched a lot of people off of their arthritis medication onto turmeric. Amazing. And that's where this is not just turmeric. One of the other things is bromelain. Bromelain is in pineapple. Bromelain is an amazing anti-inflammatory. So you start taking turmeric, and this has got some super high doses, 660 milligrams of turmeric and the 240 milligrams of bromelain. It's a lot. Wow, this is super powerful to take down inflammation. And thank you, the green tea, I just got my note here, traditional medicinals. You can get that at Walmart. Traditional medicinals. Yep, they have green tea, but they have a lot of the herbal teas that are really, really good. There we go. Now, so this is awesome. So again, if you want to take, all right, what can I do to take a step forward to really make a big difference? Just this will make a huge difference in taking down inflammation. So the turmeric is awesome. I've had some patients that were like, I don't have a lot of money, I don't want to do that, what can I do? They started taking that, they're like, okay, yeah, that's worth it. They're like, I feel completely different since I started taking the turmeric, because they see the difference of the inflammation, even not even changing their diet that much, just adding this anti-inflammatory where it really starts calming your body down. And then you kind of get encouraged, like, well, maybe I do want to change some more of my diet. So that's an awesome step supplement-wise. And then the other thing is, and this is an interesting thing, your body, there's a thing called ketones that kick in, that really take down the inflammation. And where your ketones kick in hard is during fasting. Now, believe me, fasting, I don't like fasting. My metabolism kicks so fast that I don't do well if I don't eat regularly. And a lot of people are like that. But the thing that the research is showing, even intermittent fasting is better. Now, what's intermittent fasting? There's a lot of people talking about that. Intermittent fasting, if you only eat In the morning to the afternoon, let's say you stop eating at 3 p.m. So make sure you get your last meal by 3 p.m., so late lunch, and then don't eat again until 7 a.m. So if you just fast that end of the day, now some people are like, can I just get breakfast? Because I really don't like eating breakfast anyway. Worst thing you can do. And here's the reason why, that when you eat, that's fuel for your body, right? So it's just like you put gas in your tank, but think your gas fills in your tank, but your tank's a little different, that if it doesn't use a fuel, it starts packing it away if you don't use it. And that's what happens to our body. We eat these carbohydrates, the fuel, and if you don't use it during the day, at the end of the day, your body says, well, we got all this fuel, we got to do something with it. And where do you think it packs it away and stores it? Stomach. In what form? Fat. Exactly. That's where we store it, and we store it on our hips and our belly and our legs, and it's storing that for later use. But you can keep storing it if you keep eating and you're not using it by the end of the day. So what that means is you want to have as much of the day to burn it off as possible. That somebody's like, oh, I'm going to skip breakfast, light lunch, but I'm starving at the end of the day. I'm eating my biggest meal at the end of the day. We're eating this huge meal, goes into your gut, and then you have nothing left of the day to burn it. And what do you do when you're sleeping? Your body's working hard, storing that away as fat. And you're like, I'm only eating one meal a day and I cannot lose this. Well, it's because you're not working with your body and how it burns. So you want to eat breakfast, lunch, and then stop. Now your body's got all this time to burn off all those calories you've done in the morning, and the afternoon, and now your body goes into the fasting mode. Fasting mode is it's burning up the fuel and starts grabbing the extra fuel. So where's that extra fuel? On your belly and your thighs and your hips, and that's where it starts grabbing that. It's like, oh, we don't have any fuel to finish off the day. We're going to start grabbing those stores, and that's where you start depleting your extra at the end of the day. And the coolest thing, ketones start kicking in, because when it starts burning those extra, that fat, it kicks off ketones, and interesting, ketones take down inflammation. So it's a double bonus. Taking down fat and it takes down inflammation. Praise the Lord. That's where he talked about fasting in the scripture. There's a whole lot of bonuses for that. And it's interesting, even where they talk about fasting helps with depression, that it helps calm your body down, and it gives your gut, like so many people have problems with their gut, man, my intestines are going crazy. It rests your gut so your gut can actually heal. So there's tons of benefits for this intermittent fasting. So that's one of the awesome things. Last thing that we're seeing, and I'm looking at my time. Oh yeah, all right, let me speed up here. The peaceful practices, what you can do to calm your mind down, that there's several things with this, and there's actually, they've done so many, I didn't realize there were that much research articles in how to calm your brain down and how to beat anxiety. There's so much that they've connected with anxiety and inflammation, but some of the things they've talked about was that I was looking at prayer and worship, that we're trying to give things over to God, but one of the things they talked about, that forgiveness, and this isn't a Christian journal, this is a medical journal, that they were talking about forgiveness is one of the things that helps to take down inflammation and to beat depression. That when you hold on to bitterness and it's like, man, this person is just got me riled up, and you're just thinking about them all the time. And I heard a pastor say, it's like, you know what, when you're just think about them, he said, it's like you're drinking poison and think it's gonna hurt the other person. It's like, it's not hurting them at all, but you're polluting and killing yourself, causing all this inflammation. But forgiving them, it helps you and it takes down your inflammation. So they were putting that as one of the top things, is going through and forgiving. I've got a prayer ministry that I meet with often, and that's one of the first things that we go through as we're praying together is, okay, God, is there anything that I need to seek forgiveness for? Did I screw up something? Lord, forgive me. But then the next thing is, God, is there anybody I need to forgive? Anybody that's done something to me that I need to forgive? And it's pretty cool. They walk through this whole process of God, you've forgiven me so much through the blood of Jesus that, I have no right to hold on to something somebody's done to me. I tear that up, whatever they've done to me, and I'm holding on to this. See, I got a right. They hurt me. They did this. Tear that up. Jesus, I'm giving it over to you. You take care of it. I'm letting them go, put them in your hands. And wow, the research is amazing what that does to you. I've seen it personally. I didn't even know there's research out. I just knew God wanted me to do it. But holy mackerel, it makes a huge difference in not only your heart, your soul, but in your body. It's pretty cool. God knew what he was talking about. Now, the other thing that I do that I didn't know about until the research showed it, journaling. So taking all the stuff you have in your head, and every morning I go through this every morning. I journal, hey, what happened yesterday? And I go through my prayer. The ACTS is, you've heard of ACTS, the adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication, that those things that just writing down, Lord, all the good things that God's done, and I'm so grateful for that. It's adoration, how awesome God is, being thankful for the stuff God's given me. I journal that, and then also journaling the confession, and that's where confessing stuff I've done, God forgive me, and God, I forgive what others have done to me, and just writing it down, and then praying for others, that we're supposed to pray for our enemies, pray for people that hurt us. And it's interesting, and this is a side note, one of my friends, a pastor, told him that when you have an enemy, you bless them, you do a blessing prayer over them, where it's bless stands for BLESS, is you pray for, the B is their body, their physical health. That I had a person that embezzled a lot of money from the office, and he told me, bless them. I'm like, okay, Lord, bless their health. And then the L is their labor. God, give them honest work, that you would bless them with good work. And then E is emotions. God, bless them with emotional stability, and that you would encourage them with good friends that can lift them up. S is socially, God, that you bring Christians in their life that can pray for them and lead them in a healthy direction. Then the last S is spiritually, God, that you would save them, that they would turn their heart over to you, and that they would be saved. And every time that person comes to your mind, you pray a blessing prayer over them, even if it's a couple minutes or it's 20 minutes. Every time they come to mind. Now, it was really interesting. The friend of mine that told me about this, he had somebody that was suing him. He's a psychologist, and this person it was a frivolous lawsuit, and his attorney was like, sorry, this just doesn't matter if it's frivolous. You've got to defend yourself. He was in this mess for a year, but his pastor told him about that blessing prayer, and he just started praying that blessing prayer over him, and he said it freed him because he was just so upset about it, and it turned his anger toward that person into feeling really bad for that person, that he was praying for this person constantly. And then he said, all of a sudden, everything stopped. The attorney letter stopped, and he was like, what happened to him? And he was saying, he's like, you know what? He said, Satan is trying to use that person to injure me and injure them. And he said, once Satan started seeing this person's getting prayed for so much, he was like, I got to stop this, because this person is getting so much prayer. This is counterintuitive. So that's where I've done the same thing, and man, it works amazingly. So if you've got something like that, that blessing prayer is awesome. Now, the other thing that we don't get enough of that causes inflammation is we're not getting enough sleep at night. So sleep, amen. Exactly. So now, what does sleep do? 8 hours of sleep helps to relax our bodies. It rejuvenates, replenishes, and that's what, if we're doing some of these other things, take down the inflammation, it actually helps us to sleep deeper and sleep better. So sleep is awesome. And then the last thing is neurological stress. So neurological stress is the stress we have on our spine and our joints, and that's where we get some of these injuries, and it's like, oh, it's not bothering me. And it's like, hey, can't you turn your neck? It's like, sure, I can turn my neck. I'm turning fine. I'm great. Now, research is showing that lack of mobility in our joints and in our spine causes not only inflammation in the joint. When a joint's jammed out of alignment, that joint inflames because it's like slamming your elbow into the wall. It's like, oh, but what happens if you slam your elbow into the wall every day? It's never going to heal. And that's these joints. God built our body to move. And when our body doesn't move and that joint's locked out of alignment, that joint swells, puts pressure on the nerves, and it just chokes the life out of you. So that's where getting the stress off your nervous system is primary to take down inflammation neurologically. And that's what they've shown. Actually, there's a really cool study. It's called the vagus nerve. It's one of the top nerves in the top of your neck. That nerve is part of your, what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, that calms your whole body down. It's part of your nervous system that allows your body to replenish and relax. And that vagus nerve, the medical doctor's like, wow, we can help that vagus nerve to calm down. What we're going to do is we're going to burn that vagus nerve and then calm that down. It's like, what are you thinking? So it's crazy. I've seen other stuff like, oh, your muscle's tight. We're going to burn the nerve going to that muscle and get that muscle relaxed. I'm like, all right, what about where else that nerve goes and what else you're killing? It's like, yeah, but what they're showing is getting pressure off the vagus nerve helps calm your whole body down. And that's what we've seen with the chiropractic adjustments. As we get the joints unlocked, especially in the base of the skull here, calms a whole body down. I've seen some crazy amazing things with patients that were nervous, and especially I've seen this after car accidents. Specifically, it's where the concussion symptoms come in. You're in a car accident, your head slams forward and slams back, and you're like, oh. And what happens? Inflammation kicks in, and then scar tissue locks that joint down. So what happens, your body is supposed to heal with what's called elastic scar tissue, so you heal with motion. But if you don't get the joint unlocked and moving, you have rigid scar tissue that locks in, and then you stop moving, and every trauma is worse and worse, and you start hitting, especially these parasympathetic nerves, that what happens, you just get more and more stressed. And it's like, wow, stuff bothers me that it didn't used to, that I get ramped up, just like that bear coming in. It's like I got a bear in my house all the time, and I don't know why I'm so emotional. And what I had several patients when I've seen so many traumas and this much stress in the base of their skull that the research shows, and I asked them, I said, wow, with this much stress, this many years, it's like you've probably already tried to commit suicide already. And they're like, yeah, how'd you know that? I said, just from the amount of stress and how long you've had it. That's just what all the research shows. And I've seen so many people that have been there, and I get it. But let's get the pressure off this nerve and let's see how your body can calm down. And I mean, we see it all the time, that a person, their personality changes, where they're coming in, and we see this at the front, we're just like, man, and as we get the pressure off, they're the nicest person. It's like they turn around, they're like, hey, how you doing? Like, whoa, like, all right. And as their body calms down, they just open up, and this is what I love to see. God put this amazing nervous system in our body. If we get the pressure off, that we get to experience this health and life that God has put inside of us, and it starts to heal and calm us down. It's awesome. I'm just love being a chiropractor. It's like the coolest thing. So that's where God doesn't need any help, just no interference. So my job is to remove interference and let this healing power flow through. It's awesome. I've only been doing this 25 years, and it's like I'm excited for another 25 if the Lord lets me. Amen. It's super cool. Now, the one thing I want to end with is we have a very new exam that we're doing. It's actually a graded exam, and even with some of you guys that are patients, that we've done re-exams, but this one we've actually graded your nutrition, your emotional stress. We grade your physical strength and your neurological stress, and really put down so we can grade it and mark it, and then as we progress, we can really see, wow, okay, you're weak in this area, we need to give you some strengthening exercises, or there's stress on the nerves, we're going to give you some more stretches to get the pressure off, or there's emotional stress, here's some tactics we can do to get the emotion tied down, or your nutritional stress, let's do some more things with your nutrition to get that inflammation down, to get your body balanced. So that's where, if you're not a patient, we're doing that for free. It's normally $100 for that exam. So we've got exams that we can do to really grade and see how your body is functioning, and then putting out a roadmap to get you to a higher level of function. And that's what our mission and goal is to allow God's people to experience the full life and health that He's put inside of us. We've got this gift inside. A lot of us aren't opening it. And it's like having that Christmas present. Where is it? Did you open it? Nope. It's in my closet. Why didn't you open it? It's amazing. And that's what our goal is to let you open that gift so you can experience this awesome life that God's really given us. So if you're interested in that, ladies have that up for you, and I have run out of time. So, amen. Thank you. If you have any questions, we're going to end here and questions later. So anybody's like, all right,